EM Weekly starting right now, bringing emergency managers from around the world together to learn, share and collaborate.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Todd, the host of the EM Weekly Show, and Dan Scott with me, and it's going to be awesome. So we're bringing in Brandi Hunter, who is the founder of the Aspiring Emergency Managers Online, the AEMO. You can find them over in LinkedIn, and we'll have the links down below too in the show notes. But Brandi is studying at Pierce College, and she's enrolled in Homeland Security Emergency Management. Her goals in life is to become a PIO. So if anybody's looking for a PIO, here we got her already for you. So Brandi's also, like I said, the founder of the AEMO, and we really want to talk today about what the next generation of emergency managers are and how organizations like the AEMO can help really kind of help professionalize emergency management. Brandi, welcome to
Thank you.
the show.
It's great to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
So what made you think about creating this organization?
So the organization didn't really get thought of until about the end of July, or the end of June, excuse me. But I really wanted to start something that brought aspiring emergency managers, but more so students who were also in Homeland Security, emergency management. We are all online. We're not face to face. We don't have the same resources as if we were at a brick and mortar college. Mm-hmm. And so networking wasn't really easy for us unless we were going out and we were doing internships or maybe volunteering. And so I actually was able to attend a business continuity networking meeting, and that kind of sparked my interest. I met John Hallage on LinkedIn, and he actually invited me to that network. And when I got to meet these individuals, these professional emergency managers, I was wowed. And I tried to get a lot of my other fellow students that were also in the Homeland Security Emergency Management to join LinkedIn so they could network and meet other professional emergency managers and build that bridge. But a lot of them didn't want to do it. So I kept trying to think of ways to connect people who were trying to get into the field with people who were already in emergency management. And I just kept thinking and thinking, and nothing was really sticking. I thought about creating my own blog, mm-hmm. and I just didn't have the time because I'm still in school. I just didn't have the time to build that. And at the end of June, it just sparked something. I was like, you know what? There's all these LinkedIn groups. There's these emergency management groups. Why not create a emergency management group dedicated to aspiring emergency managers? And originally, I was not planning on having professional emergency managers in there. And it was just going to be us, aspiring emergency managers, talking one-on-one with each other, trying to expound, trying to figure out this whole entire emergency management thing together. But it didn't really make sense in my mind because I still felt we needed to connect with other professionals, mm-hmm. and get their insight, because I mean, we don't have that same insight. We're all on the same playing field trying to figure things out. And so I said, okay, let's just let's bring everyone together, in this one platform, and we can all connect. So that's where it really stemmed from. And then I had John Hallage look at it. I had Ismar Garcia look at it, and they said, hey, this looks great. Let's go with it. And so it just happened. It happened, and then it boomed like overnight.
Yeah, it did boom, didn't it?
Yeah.
So ultimately, what draws you to aspire to be an emergency manager?
So I really wasn't interested in emergency management. I knew nothing about it last year. And I was always in and out of college trying to figure out what my path was going to be. And something said, go into the Homeland Security Emergency Management Program. So I did. And then after learning I knew about 9/11, I knew about Katrina, but I didn't actually know what went into it. I didn't know about the Stafford Act. I didn't know about any of that stuff. And the vulnerable populations and how they are not really handled well as a whole community. They're not, mm-hmm. That drew me in. because I'm a Black woman, and a lot of my Black friends and Black family members don't know anything about emergency disaster preparedness or anything like that. And so I felt like I could be that person, that face for them to identify with. And so that way I could talk to them and other people who are in vulnerable populations about emergency management preparedness, so they too can be a part of the whole community. So that's my interest with emergency management.
So, Brandi, how do you think that we could reach out? We as an emergency management collective body, right? Dan and I talk about this a lot. How can we reach out to, say, I don't even know if it's high school students where we start, or how do we get people that want to become emergency managers? Because, like, realistically, I don't say nobody, but there's not a lot of people who, when they're like in high school or even younger, like, I want to be an emergency manager when I grow up. It's like, I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a cop. I want to be this or that. How do we get people to want to be an emergency manager, not fall into it?
Well, I have a high schooler, and she doesn't know anything about it. But when I'm enthusiastic, I think first off, emergency management is not a very enthusiastic career. We're not like, yeah, emergency management, yeah, let's do this and stuff. And so I think if we exude that excitement that, like, police officers do, and even people in the healthcare field, like, my daughter wants to be a nurse. They're really excited, and we need to show that same excitement. And even though, yes, we're dealing with disasters and stuff, we need to communicate in a different context with the younger generation. Because when you just say, oh, well, we handle disasters and this is what I do, I sit in the office all day long, and sometimes I go out there and I rescue people, that doesn't really sound too exciting. I think that the language needs to be different, and we need to put it out there that, yes, we are helping people in disaster situations, but at the end of the day, here are the rewards. You too could be a firefighter. We have a lot of people who are in this field that are firefighters. We have a lot of people that we connect with that are in the healthcare industry or public health, and we just need to make that connection so they can see that we are still a part of the bigger picture somehow, but again, being excited about it somehow.
it's having a level of passion for what we do, right?
Exactly.
The professionalism, and that's one of the things that I talk about the most is they say, well, how do we make emergency management a profession? Well, it already is a profession, and I am an emergency management professional, and it's how you go about it and how much passion you show for what you do that then leads somebody else. But as you mentioned, Brandi, that a lot of that come into emergency management come in from other fields, from law enforcement, from fire, from military, from EMS, they transition to emergency management, and ultimately, how do we, as you just mentioned, we got to be more passionate about what we do, but how do we show that passion to those, to let them know that, for them to decide that's what I want to do. I want to do what Brandi Hunter does as an emergency manager. So how would you suggest, or even any ideas that you might have on how we show that passion to those who aspire to be an emergency manager?
I mean, you're going to have to step out of your box, your boundaries. Everyone wants to sit in their cubicles and the comforts of their office. I mean, you got to go to these kids first. You have to go to the high schools. You have to show them that you're a real person and get onto their level, just like the cops do. The cops, they come. I remember when I was in school, they would come to our high school. But yeah, they weren't going to be talking about like the criminals or anything like that, but they made it fun. Whether they were introducing like games or something, they were giving incentives to the kids. I think that the kids, they want incentives. They want something that makes them feel a part of it, and maybe inviting them to be volunteers. The high schoolers to volunteer with you or to shadow you or something of that nature, but take them into an environment outside of your office that's, not boring. I mean, I guess to me, it's a little complex because I haven't really thought about high schoolers in that sense. But again, Daniel, sorry, it's about, you being enthusiastic, you being passionate, showing your passion do your job, but you can be passionate about your job and be boring about it. So I don't know.
There's a reason why we don't have like live emergency manager. You know how they have like live PD and live rescue. You know, it's like live emergency manager. Wouldn't be an exciting.
A lot of what we do is behind the scenes until it's needed, and then we're helping coordinate support. You know, which is awesome. But a lot of it is behind the scenes, and it's not really all that. It's not really all that exciting at times, but you got to really enjoy it. And ultimately, the underlying reason why I do it is because of there's so many aspects of being able to help in so many different avenues and support those who respond. I come from a responder background myself, and I transitioned to this not necessarily by mistake, but by seeing a need. And now it's I'm extremely passionate about what I do, and I only hope that it shows when I talk about what it is that I do and how I do it, and when I'm teaching and promoting what it is that we do. So ultimately, I agree with you 100%. We need to drive the profession and get the inspiring emergency manager to know that this is really what I want to do and this is why. So Todd, do you want to take the next question? Because I have several for you, Brandi.
I do, and I just want to. My question is pretty straightforward. Is like, what have you learned from the aspiring emergency manager organization that you created? Like, what is like the biggest hurdle that the people talk about in that group?
Mentoring. Right now, the biggest hurdle for me is trying to get the aspiring emergency managers also engaged. I think that's the hardest because they are so fearful of being judged by professional emergency managers. They don't want to, they want to ask for help and they want to ask for mentors, but they don't know how to because they're afraid that if they do, it'll make it seem like they don't know. And so I'm trying to encourage them, and that's what AEMO is doing, is trying to give them a path into creating their own identity within emergency management. And so I'm trying to bring them on and, let's do a newsletter, let's do this, and trying to find what they're passionate about, trying to pull out their niches. And then with that, it'll build their confidence up. And I feel like a lot of them, even with master's degrees, they don't have that confidence to ask the questions that are necessary. So they're just floundering. So I'm trying to get this interaction going with AEMO. And that's been a struggle, and trying to actually get the professional emergency managers to even engage with them. And not just behind the scenes, not just in private messages, but if, like, let's say John posts a question, he doesn't really get much response, and I'm trying, unless somebody says, oh, well, send me a message. Well, he's asking the question and he wants that question to be answered right there, not in a private message. And that answer might help somebody else, who might have that same question. So right now, that's what I'm really struggling with right now, is to get that public interaction going, and to build the confidence that I feel like I have, and trying to use that as an example. And I know not everybody's going to do that. There's a lot of introverts, that aren't going to want to ask these questions, but closed mouths don't get fed. And I'm trying to show that to these aspiring emergency managers. You need to start asking the questions, and AEMO is that perfect opportunity, because I want this whole organization to feel, like you're comfortable, like you can, like it's your house. You can ask these questions. No one's going to judge you. If somebody judges you, that's their own personal issue, but you're still learning. And a lot of professional emergency managers understand that. They're not critical of you. They want to help.
Right. I'm going to take this opportunity right now to tell all the emergency managers out here that are listening, and a lot of you guys are my friends, right? I want you all to get on to LinkedIn and onto this organization. The links are below in the show notes. And find these new emergency managers that are coming up and become that mentor. right? Or if you don't have the time, or right, or make the time, find somebody who does. And we know the network, and we really need to really encourage these the next generation of emergency managers to come up. Hey, Daniel, you know what? We're coming up to our hard break, and yeah, I have a question for you though. Remember Brian Scroggins?
I do.
He's running for the second VP for IAEM.
I heard.
Yeah, and you know what? I got to tell you something. Brian was part of our group. Daniel and I were in our group, and he worked on realistically helping out with mass communications and that stuff. He has a really great background in emergency management. He responded to the Route 91 shooting in Vegas at the Mandalay Bay. It was an amazing guy. I'm going to say I am supporting Brian in his quest to become the second VP for IAEM, and I recommend and that you vote for him as well. Please just jump on there when we have this open, because I think, number one, he has leadership skills in the background. He actually is the deputy director of the State Charter Schools Authority of Nevada, working with 65 schools, 5,000 or 50,000 students, doing emergency management and planning for them. He has a really good background in emergency management, went to the Executive Academy with Daniel and I think that he is a awesome person and a great candidate for IEM.
I would second that.
Thank you. All right. Well, let's hear from our sponsors, and when we come back, Brandi, I know Daniel has a bunch of questions for you.
Seconds count during an emergency. That's why at Titan HST, we're always inventing new technology to help people stay safe and help people who can provide help get connected with people who need help. At Titan HST, we've deployed mesh networking, allowing emergency communication even when networks are down, augmented reality, and real-time translation. We believe in the power of people to help each other stay safe and thrive.
Are you looking for that bag to help you keep organized as you travel around, something you can carry with you every day? Well, VanQuest was founded with a simple mission: build the toughest bags and packs for you to carry every day and to help you stay organized and prepared. VanQuest has been making the ultra-durable bags and packs since 2011, and their bags and packs are trusted by the clients such as the FBI, the U.S. Secret Service, and U.S. SOCOM. Yes, that is the U.S. Special Operations Command. Their bags and packs offer the best organization for the user-friendly experience, such as the high visibility interior for the users. And I'm telling you something, I love that orange inside the bag because I could find the things I need quickly. I love my VanQuest bag. Don't forget, they offer free shipping, 100-day return guarantee, and a lifetime warranty. And if you put in EM Weekly, all caps, all one word, you get 10% off your total purchase. VanQuest.com. Hey, thank you for listening to those sponsors. And if you go to them, let them know you heard them here on EM Weekly. And I'm telling you, that VanQuest bag, Brandi, I love that bag.
Okay.
I do. I really do. And it's just, I mean, like, okay, first of all, I got to say something. My wife gets on me because, like, I am like a tactical nylon geek, right? I mean, like, I have bags. I have all different, whether different companies, right? And yeah, so I got the VanQuest bag, and the interior of it's this bright orange. And so, like, I've lost stuff. Like, I pull everything out, looking for things. With the interior being orange, you don't lose things. Things just stand out. So that's why I like it. Anyway, I'm just a nerd. I'll take it. We can talk tactical nylon all day long, and I'm happy about that as well. But we're not here to talk about tactical nylon. We're here to talk about you and your organization. And I know Daniel has a bunch of questions.
Yeah, so Brandi, I'd like to expand or kind of dive in a little bit deeper to your mentor, expectations, and I'd also like to say that, as far as emergency management goes, one of the reasons why I love it so much is the amount of willingness to cooperate and to network and to engage. And if you're having issues with finding mentors for these aspiring emergency managers, I'd be ashamed of emergency managers who would choose not to mentor others. So I want to say, what kind of system do you have in place, or do you have a system? And if not, maybe we can help develop one as far as
Absolutely.
how you connect aspiring emergency managers to a mentor, and maybe one that is along the lines of does what they want to do.
Yeah, so right now, the group is just it's in an infantile stage. So mentoring right now is just a person just asking, and saying, "Hey, I need somebody to mentor me." It's nothing. There's nothing that's actually set in place. There's not a program or anything like that. So I'm open to all ideas as far as how to connect people with mentors that they can benefit from, that actually fit with them. Because right now it's just, hey, I'm looking for somebody, and then somebody showing up and saying, hey, connect with me, let's talk. So that's all I have going right now.
I'd like to. I'll volunteer my service if I can help you in any way in that aspect of things. Please let me know. As far
Okay.
as being able to point people in the right direction, that's what I'm good at. As far as emergency management in general, though, it's about networking, connecting, and being willing to cooperate with other people. So, but a lot of it is just being able to and willing to invest in others and how they aspire to become emergency managers. As on my podcast itself is about how do we educate not only the new emergency manager but the existing emergency manager, and that's a big part of it is mentoring. Even as a seasoned emergency manager myself, I have mentors. So so it's an aspired emergency manager absolutely needs someone to mentor them, and if we can help in that way, and I'm volunteering Todd. So Todd, he's in on this conversation. So yeah, if we can help in that way, please allow us to do so.
So right now we actually are trying to start this 3-minute informational video. I did one of the professional emergency managers, Barbara Payne, she did one last Monday. And my hope is to start to have professional emergency managers twice a month, the first Monday and the third Monday of every month, do a 3-minute informational video discussing what it's like to be an emergency manager in their field. What does it mean to be an emergency manager, and anything that will benefit the aspiring emergency manager. And I'm hoping that these videos will connect and let aspiring emergency managers know who these people are, and then it connects them in that way. So that's the one way that I have that's going right now. But outside of that, Daniel, if you want to help out, I would be more than grateful, because right now I'm telling you, I'm tired trying to keep this boat afloat.
I believe
it. And I can't come up with all the ideas. That's why there's AEMO. It's for everybody. If somebody sees, like if it's like a professional emergency manager, if they have an idea that will enhance AEMO and will also educate and motivate aspiring emergency managers, please, I'm not going to turn down anybody's idea unless it's just like self-promotion, which I frown upon in some aspect. But again, like if it's there to help aspiring emergency managers become successful emergency managers, I'm open for it. And even if it's aspiring emergency managers that have an idea that will help benefit everybody, especially the aspiring emergency managers, I'm open to it. So if you have an idea for a mentorship program or how we can connect the aspiring emergency managers in an efficient way to the professional emergency managers, let's talk about it and let's do it.
Absolutely. I look forward to that conversation.
You know what, Daniel and Brandi, there was an article a couple years ago that was in Emergency Management Magazine, and it basically said that my generation, right, or maybe the generation just before me, is retiring out, right? And because they're retiring out, there's going to be this huge void in the body of work, a body of knowledge of emergency management, and the new generation, if coming up, has to learn it again. And I really took not offense, that's not the word I'm looking for, but I took a difference to that article, because mentorship is where it's at, right? And whether we're moving out, the older generation's moving out of being active emergency managers, and you got the next generation coming up behind us, we should, as an organization, should really take the new EMs coming through and mentor them up. Because if you think about police and fire and EMS, right? I mean, I know they have academies and things like this, But yeah, when they come into the organization, they go through like field training officers, and they go through those type of bringing that person into what the job is. And I know that in emergency management, it's a little different because you get a job and you end up being like in your silo, and they put you in a desk in the corner office, and they go, okay, go do emergency management stuff. And you might not have that person to walk you through. But this is where being involved in organizations like yours, Brandi, really makes a difference. So I do really thank you for doing, and the rest of your group that's putting this together, of organizing this and really shouting at the top of your lungs, if you can, on LinkedIn, saying, help us, right? Help us become emergency managers. So congratulations on that. And again, I'm challenging all my EM friends out there that are listening to us today to share this story, because Brandi's voice needs to be heard. And then second, get involved.
Yeah. And so there's an emergency management group on Facebook, and I know you're a part of it, Todd, because I actually saw your name first before I saw anybody else's. And you introduced me to your group, EM Weekly on Facebook, and so I joined. But anyways, I remember being in that group, and that was my first emergency management group that I was a part of. And it left a really bad taste in my mouth because there was aspiring emergency managers that were on there. Many of them were graduating out of the master's program and were struggling trying to get into the field. And a lot of them were not received well when they were asking for help. Yeah. And I just was like, is this what the field is like? It's hard. Nobody's willing to share information. And it was like, hey, I need help with this. What do I do? I'm having an issue trying to get in here. And they're like, well, you don't have that, this skill and that skill. So good luck. It was like a dead end. And when I got onto LinkedIn after that, it was a different atmosphere, and people were more open. And I can see why aspiring emergency managers are so reluctant to ask for help, because even I've experienced this where somebody said, hey, connect with me. I'm willing to help you on anything you need. And then I connect with them and I ask them for help, and I get ghosted. And that happens more so often than a person replying back. I would say that that's about a good 75% of the time. And that is very discouraging. That's for me. But I also know, talking to other aspiring emergency managers, that they're also feeling that discouragement. And so they're reluctant to ask for help and to seek out a mentorship. So that's very frustrating.
I feel you. What do you think, Daniel?
Ultimately, the emergency management, as I said earlier, the emergency management profession, those who actually work in it and are doing it, is very willing to collaborate, network, and usually very willing to share. So it's, and LinkedIn in general, as you say, you saw a change from Facebook to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the professional network versus the social network, and necessarily, there's a different atmosphere. I would agree. But as far as LinkedIn goes, I agree that it's the professional aspect. I'm glad you experienced a better, you got to have a better experience on LinkedIn. And I'm very impressed with the way that you went about creating this organization and building aspiring emergency managers. And I personally am one that I just want to offer my assistance and say, how can we help connect those people with mentors, give them the advice they need, give them some direction, and give them more than that. Ultimately is the proper introduction to emergency management.
That's it, the proper introduction. Brandi, we're coming close to the end here, and I want to give you the opportunity to, again, talk about your organization. How do people find you, and first of all, how do aspiring emergency managers get involved?
And you can just get involved any way you can. If you're in AEMO, you don't have to ask me for permission. I'm just the founder. I'm just the owner. It's a collaboration of everybody working together. And so as long as it's benefiting aspiring emergency managers and not self-promotion, then again, it's your oyster. You can do whatever you want. Feel free to start webinars. Feel free to start your own podcast. Feel free to do whatever it is that you feel will benefit everyone in the group. And as far as connecting with me, I'm always on LinkedIn. I think I'm on LinkedIn too much. And so that is like the best way to get a hold of me.
Outstanding. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for Brandi. First of all, thank you for taking out your morning to be here with us, and it's great. It's great to see you. I love interacting with you on LinkedIn. I love interacting with all the emergency managers and aspiring emergency managers on LinkedIn. Daniel, thank you for your time as well. Please don't forget to follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and also on your favorite podcast player. And hey, this the Thursday, the 27th of August, Weekly's hosting a webinar on how to reopen safely after this COVID thing. So join us on the 27th and with Titan HST and Ian Weekly to talk about reopening safely after this or during this COVID crisis.